All right, let's get right into this. For centuries, Greenland was just this huge, remote island of ice, kind of at the edge of the world. But all of a sudden, it's right at the center of global attention. So why is everyone, from Brussels to Beijing to Washington, so obsessed with this place and its 55,000 people?
Well, on the surface, everything looks pretty buttoned up. Just last year, the European Union and the government of Greenland signed this major strategic partnership. It's all about cooperation, sustainable development, a shared future. But that formal handshake, that's really only one tiny part of a much, much more complicated story.
Because underneath all that diplomatic language, there's a much harsher reality. As one commenter put it, just so bluntly, an independent Greenland would likely get swallowed up by a superpower in a heartbeat. And that's stark contrast right there. Between partnership and raw power politics, that gets right to the heart of what's going on.
So that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. What is actually at stake in Greenland? To really get why this island has become such a global hotspot, we've got to look at what's under the ice, what's going on within its culture, and of course, its strategic spot on the world map.
Let's start with the most obvious piece of the puzzle, the unbelievable mineral wealth that's been hidden just below Greenland's surface. As that ice melts, it's basically uncovering what could be one of the richest treasure chests on the entire planet.
Now check out this number, 25. That's how many of the EU's 34 critical raw materials they think are sitting there in Greenland. We're talking about the guts of everything, from electric cars to wind turbines, literally the building blocks for the whole green transition.
And that's exactly why that EU partnership is so detailed. It's not just a shopping trip for minerals. No, it's a whole 5-point plan to weave their economies together, build out infrastructure, and develop skills. It's a roadmap for unlocking all those resources in a way that hopefully benefits everybody. The economic potential is just massive.
But look, Greenland is so much more than just a giant piggy bank for minerals. It's home to this incredibly vibrant Inuit culture that is completely intertwined with the land and the ice. And that very culture is now facing a challenge like never before. The impact of climate change here is so deep, you can actually see it evolving in the Greenlandic language itself. A language, it's a living record of a people's reality. And right now, that reality is changing faster than anyone could have imagined.
For generations, Greenlanders have had words like kanoasak. It means thin ice. It describes a known, predictable part of the natural cycle. Something you respect, sure, but something you understand.
But now, there's a totally new word that's had to be created, isuakisak. This means rapidly thinning ice. It describes something new, something unfamiliar, and something way more dangerous. And this just perfectly shows how the environment isn't just changing, it's becoming fundamentally unpredictable.
And this isn't just some interesting little language fact. It points to this huge cultural ripple effect. Traditional hunting and fishing, which are the bedrock of their culture and economy, are getting totally disrupted. Communities are under massive economic strain, and there's a growing disconnect between the younger generations and their own heritage.
So you take all of this, the potential for mind-boggling wealth and the simultaneous cultural crisis, and it all feeds into the single biggest political question facing Greenlanders today, the incredibly emotional debate over independence from Denmark.
And man, the arguments on both sides are really powerful. On one hand, you have Greenland's unique culture and this deep, deep desire to control their own destiny, free from a colonial past. But the arguments against it are just as serious. Independence could mean losing essential services from Denmark. We're talking healthcare, education, not to mention becoming strategically and economically wide open.
And that economic dependency, it's not abstract. It's very, very real. Get this number, $500 million. That's the annual subsidy Greenland gets from Denmark. It makes up about half of their entire government budget. How do you replace that overnight?
And yet, as this one user puts it so perfectly, the drive for independence isn't just about spreadsheets and budgets. It's about pride. It's about a natural and honest aspiration for self-determination that it runs so deep in Greenlandic society.
And here's the kicker. This entire internal debate is happening while the world's biggest powers are watching, very, very closely. Because of its location and its resources, Greenland has suddenly become a critical piece on a new global chessboard.
To really get the US approach, especially under Trump, you have to understand this idea of distributive bargaining. It's basically a zero-sum game, a me win, you lose worldview. So when Trump talked about buying Greenland, he wasn't thinking about a partnership. He was thinking about winning a real estate deal. And hey, it's not just the US.
This whole thing has become a three-way geopolitical game. For the United States, it's all about military control, missile tracking, dominating the high north. For Russia, it's a chance to push back against that American presence and maybe sow a little division in the West. And for China, well, China's playing the ultimate long game, securing minerals for its tech empire and forging a new polar Silk Road right through the melting ice.
So when you put it all together, the unbelievable resources, the fragile culture, the independence debate, and this intense geopolitical pressure, you start to see a nation whose future is truly, well, on thin ice, both literally and figuratively.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, right? As the ice keeps melting, revealing both incredible treasure and incredible turmoil, can Greenland actually navigate these treacherous waters to create its own independent future? Or is this island nation, with its rich culture and proud people, destined to simply become a prize for the great powers in a rapidly warming world?